Dear homie, this Valentine's Day, you should know how much of a bro you are to me. You're the Marco to my Brolo, the Angelina Broly to my Brode Pitt, my Rice-a-brony after a long day's work, and a slam dunk from Shaquille O'Neal. So bro, you should know how low my thoughts would go if I didn't have yo pro flow as ammo for my dumb show. For show. So truly, thank you and have a happy Valentine's Day, bro. Signed, Rybonator. Anyway, I made you some dice. So as you may have guessed, we're making a Valentine's Day set of dice for my friend. But not only that, we're also making a dice tray and a dice box for him, because why not? It's Valentine's. We're going to use a couple different techniques in this video, like where we cold casted with some mica powder using these cap molds. And if you want to know how to make those, I have a video on that, and I'll put that in the upper right. But first, we're going to start by putting some wax paper down, because things are absolutely going to get messy. I'm going to take this mint julep mica powder from Mad Micas, because their color scheme for their D&D character is red, yellow, and green. I want the green to be kind of subtle, so I'm going to take a Q-tip and dip just a little bit into this mint julep mica powder. You can see it will come off of the Q-tip in small amounts, and I'm just going to put it in random places on the inside of the molds. I'm not going to do anything on the top or the caps of the mold like I did last time, because I want this to mostly be a minor color. So I actually don't want there to be a chance of it sanding off, because there's not going to be all that much of it anyway. So just a few dabs here and there in each mold, just enough so that you know it's not just going to be red on the inside. Any excess mica you have inside your molds, you can just tap back into a cup and put it right back in your bag to use next time. But I'm going to leave this mica powder out because we're going to use more of it here in a little bit. But for now, let's go ahead and get some resin going. I'm using Envirotex light resin. It's a 1-to-1 by volume mixture of resin, and I mix up about 60 milliliters. I find that to be the optimal amount whenever I'm making dice using these cap molds. You may need more or less. My dice are a little bit bigger than most people's. After a good solid mixing, I'm going to add some liquid glitter silver additive. This stuff is getting rare. I might need to DIY some soon. After adding that, I'm also going to add some red leafing foil. The reason I use this over glitter is because it breaks up super fine, and one, it's super shiny and I like shiny, but also it kind of looks like little rose petals, and what's more Valentines than a bunch of rose petals? So for his red color and his character, I'm going to add all of this red leafing foil, and as you mix it, it'll kind of break up on its own, and now we have little tiny rose petals inside the dice. Now we're just going to fill these cap molds like we normally do. We always want to make sure to overfill our cap molds. That way it's almost domed on the top with the surface tension of the material. That way, if there are any gaps or voids whenever we put the lids on, hopefully resin will fill those instead of air. It's always a good idea to take a lighter and pop any surface bubbles after you leave it sitting for a few minutes. And then I always put resin on the tops of the lids or the caps whenever I push them down. That way, again, we can try and avoid any sort of voids. Now these are going to go into the pressure pot. I just take some more wax paper, because even if they're sitting there, a lot of resin is going to run off the side. Set them down in the pressure pot, and I put them between 30 and 40 psi. It only takes 12 hours to cure, but I generally always leave my dice in for twice as long as the cure time. And while that resin is curing, let's work on part 2 of this gift. I got this wooden picture frame at Michael's in the little wood supply section, and I'm trying to get that sticker off with a razor blade, but I think it's going to work well as a dice tray. It's a little lopsided, but that's because it's got that little picture hanging section. So I'm just going to remove that, and then all it has is 2 little holes. No big deal. Then I had my wife use her way better handwriting and rough out a signature for their character Robin Connors so that I could trace it with my wood burning tool. It's super easy to wood burn over pencil tracings. You just wood burn like you normally would, except this time you have something to follow, because I would normally mess this up. I've wood burned trays like this on the channel before, so if you want to see how to do that, then great. It's super duper easy. You're just following a line with something that's very, very hot and burning into your tray, and now there's a Robin Connors signature. I'm going to go ahead and coat this in fast drying polyurethane and let it sit overnight before I do the next step. And boom, the dice are done and cured. I think they look really, really awesome. I really like the red on the inside, and the green is just a nice little subtle touch. It's still mostly red, but you could tell that there's green there. They're still kind of rough looking, so I need to sand and polish them. However, that is not any fun to ever watch, so time skip. Now they are sanded, and they look even better. The insides are so polished, the glitter shines really nicely through, and I think that this is an awesome set of dice. However, we need to add the yellow color scheme scheme, and the only yellow paint I have is this cheapo paint that I got from Amazon like 3 years ago. I hate it. I'm gonna go ahead and water it down and try and do the best I can because this, again, is the only yellow I have. I never paint with yellow, but honestly, I gotta say, after putting this paint on there, it looks pretty darn good. I was really impressed. It was like $5 for like 30 paints because this is all really cheapo stuff. During the time that resin cured, so did the polyurethane coating on the dice tray. I think it looks really nice. I could have done a different stain on it, but I really wanted to show the wood grain through because I have another idea, and that's making a dice box to go with it. And I have this lovely little heart mold, which is absolutely perfect for Valentine's Day. So we're gonna go ahead and fill that up, and you can see it actually has a little tiny heart even on the top of the mold. But because we need the yellow and green color scheme, I'm gonna take some gold king tut and mint julep and do the same thing that we did before and go ahead and put some of that mica powder on the inside of the molds. I don't have any yellow paint that I want to put on these molds. I'd rather just use the mica, so we're going to do gold mica. It's not exactly yellow, but it's way better than regular yellow. This should function the exact same way that it does for our dice molds. It just puts a little bit of color on the outside of the resin, and since we're not sanding it, that totally works. We're going to mix up a larger portion of resin because we have a need to put it both in the mold and in the tray, and we're going to use some Always a Bridesmaid mica powder, and you should definitely be careful when pouring this stuff in because if you tap too hard, you'll get it everywhere. I'm not sure if it's lucky or unlucky, but it went entirely all over my hand rather than the table. So hey, as I mix this stuff up, I immediately noticed this isn't as red as I wanted, so I actually add some alcohol ink. I wanted to keep it transparent and not put too much mica powder because I want to be able to see inside the mold and the tray because we're going to pour resin both in this heart-shaped mold, creating a heart-shaped box, and in the actual dice tray as well, instead of leaving it just wooden. Now, whenever you're pouring molds like this, often you can get bubbles in the corner. Little pro tip, if you take a toothpick and just pull the corner back, that bubble will come out and pop itself. That way you don't have any weird voids or cracks in the tops of your molds. I always go over it with a lighter to pop any surface bubbles, and with the rest of the resin, I pour it into the tray. I actually made the perfect amount here. I'm going to pretend like it was calculated and that I'm super smart, so all of you, if you could pretend that would be really helpful for me. And as I fill this up with resin, I'm going to go ahead and tap it to get any surface bubbles out. This tray won't actually fit into my pressure pot, so I just have to leave it and call it good. I also got him a card that says, "Brother, you're made of good stuff. That's why I love you and appreciate you the way I do. I hope you have the great Valentine's Day you deserve. Love you, brosif, Ryan." In the time of COVID, it did not really make sense to lick the envelope, so instead I'm going to seal it with wax. I have this little replacement letter wax sealer, and his name starts with an M, so I'm going to use the M one, some gold wax that I have, and fire. I'm going to light this wax stick on fire and let the wax drip onto the tip of the little letter envelope here and stick the M down on top of the wax. After about 10 or 20 seconds, it's good enough for me to take the seal stamp off, and we have ourselves a nice little red Valentine's letter. After 24 hours, the rest of the resin has cured, and we can take our heart-shaped box out of its mold. This looks really good. Honestly, the top of it, I wasn't expecting to like as much as I did, but when you combine it with the bottom of the mold, I think it looks really awesome. That kind of gold and green really play together with this pinkish red, and really it's an awesome looking dice box. And it goes very, very well with the dice tray of the same type of resin, which looks phenomenal. I actually really like how it's kind of clear so you can still see the wood grain on the inside while still having this wood burn on the back with the name of their character on it. I really like that character and I wanted to pay it homage, and the top is all glossy and sounds great when you roll dice on it. Speaking of dice, why don't we take a look at... Oh no. The very first roll is a critical fail. This is a bad omen. These dice are cursed. But wait, it doesn't matter. These are a gift. Who cares? Let's see how they sound. I was actually super pleasantly surprised with how the yellow paint turned out on this. I was expecting to hate it because why use yellow when you can definitely use gold? But he said his character's color scheme is red, yellow, and green, so I'm not going to change it up for him, although I might throw a recommendation out there to change it to gold if you're ever thinking about changing things up in the future. But I think it fits the character really, really well, and I'm not one to argue. They don't actually know that this is a gift coming for them on Valentine's Day. It's just going to be a surprise. I just happened to ask what their character's color color scheme was. And I think for dice, this fits very, very well. They're a bard, so they kind of look magical, and they have all of the colors that they asked for. And they happen to have a Valentine's theme set of stuff for them. I don't know if they're going to like that part or not, but hey, they got it, and I think that the dice look really, really good in this dice box. And if you think that that's all I'm doing, oh no, we're just getting started. I got to put some gold in there for it to be a true gift from me, so I got this really awesome gold box, and I've got all of this shredded filler stuff so that I can set the presents up, and they look very professionally done. Black for the bottom, and I'm going to mix in some red for their character, and gold for me, because it's a gift from me, so you're going to get gold and more gold. We're going to set the dice tray down in there, the dice along with their dice box, and throw in some heart-shaped chocolates, because why not? You have to have that on Valentine's, and a black metal dice tray in case they want that and don't want the heart-shaped box, and a beer. I actually don't keep beer in the house, I don't drink it, but this was here from the last time some friends came over, so I don't know if it's expired, but you get a beer, bro, for Valentine's Day. We're going to close this box up, and we're still not done. I got to put a ribbon on this bad boy, and this ribbon has to look mighty fine. And some of you might be thinking, well, why not put that ribbon right in the center? Well, there's a reason, and it kind of reminds me of the Smash Bro logo. Super Smash Bros. You get what I'm saying? Anyway, it's all done. I have this gift ready for him on Valentine's Day, and it was a lot of fun making a gift rather than something for a specific video. This was actually a patron pick over on Patreon. I asked them each month what they want to see, and they said they wanted to see a Valentine's Day gift for my bro. He has no idea that this is coming. It's just going to be a gift for him, and I hope truly that he enjoys it and that it does his character Robin justice. I really think that it does. It's very magical, it's very bard-y, and it has a bit of flavor for Valentine's that hopefully he'll remember whenever using these dice in the future. And nothing says Valentine's Day like using one of my logos on a gift that I'm giving him, so we'll always remember it's from me. That doesn't feel selfish at all. Anyway, happy Valentine's to all you amazing dice goblins out there, and thanks for picking this. It was really fun. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you might want to see some more videos like this in the future. Everything that I made in this video, or at least something like it, I have a video on in case you want to get more in depth. And if you want to check out the candy dice I made for Valentine's last year, you can totally check that out as well. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, and let me know what you might want to see in another holiday video in the future. Thank you so much again, and I hope that you have a fantastic Valentine's.